was from someone that asked me. They noted that I had spoken about victims of oppression and persecution. I've spoken about poor Ahmed Sabih, who still languishes in Egyptian prisons simply because he dared criticize Christian theology in Egypt. And he dared become an intelligent and educated Muslim. I've spoken about Salman Oda, the great Muslim scholar who continues to languish in Saudi prisons. But this person asked me why I have not spoken about Shaykh Hassan Farhan al-Maliki. And to be quite honest, if I had heard of Shaykh Hassan Farhan al-Maliki in the past, I must have forgotten that I've heard about him, because I knew nothing about Hassan Farhan al-Maliki. After I received the message, I started educating myself about this man. This man is currently in Saudi prisons. He was arrested in 2017. It was not his first arrest. But since 2017 till now, he remains in Saudi prisons, like Sheikh Salman al-Oda. One of his sons, because he tweeted about the arrest of his father, is also in Saudi prisons. Another son was killed in a car accident, a rather suspicious event. And Saudi authorities, of course, didn't allow Farhan al-Maliki to attend the funeral of his son. The prosecution in Saudi Arabia is demanding the execution of Hassan Farhan al-Maliki. And I started educating myself about the thought of this man. And I must admit to you, I was blown away. Hassan Farhan al-Maliki is remarkably impressive, sophisticated intellectual. Someone who knows how to think about divine revelation embedded in history. Someone who, in a masterful, intellectual way, analyzes what Muslims ought to do with history in the context of revelation. A man who has given a considerable amount of thought to Islam as enlightenment to humanity. And how can Islam ever be associated with darkness and backwardness? An intellectual like this, in just lands, in lands that do not oppress scholars and kill off talent, would be a luminary, would be comfortably seated in a strategic center or a think tank or a prestigious chair in a university, would have students from all over the world, would be an honored guest in symposia and conferences and keynote lectures, living a few days with the writings and lectures of Hassan Farhan al-Maliki made me feel like a student all over again. I felt humbled by the knowledge and scholarship of this man, humbled by his analytical precision and the breadth of his education. and most of all, humbled by his humility. Yet, in Muslim lands, this man, who could be contributing to a new Islamic renaissance, who could be contributing to an age of Islamic enlightenment, is treated like a criminal, is persecuted, thrown in prison, with the government seeking to execute him. Death sentence, capital punishment. And his entire family is targeted and persecuted as well. One son in jail, another son dead, and a third son on the run. I've never met this man in my life. And I didn't even know about him until I received this email. But what education does to you, it makes you painfully conscious of your own ignorance when you come into contact with others who are educated. And this is precisely what happened to me as I was reading the literature of Hassan Farhan al-Maliki and listening to his lectures. I became painfully aware of my own ignorance and my own limitations. And for that, I felt incredibly grateful. But at the same time, when I think we are an ummah that imprisons the likes of Salman al-Auda and Ahmed Sibiya and Hassan Farhan al-Maliki, every time that in the Muslim world emerges the glimmer of hope, morality, ethics, principles, they are picked up and thrown in prison. And so you understand the world that we live in. There is no hoopla by Western governments about Hassan Farhan al-Maliki. There's some calls by human rights organizations here and there calling upon the Saudi government not to execute him. But the type of outrage that we observe when it is Muslim extremists that target an innocent victim is not there. The type of outrage when we see the Taliban victimize a poor Afghani girl and she appears on the front page or front cover of New York Times Magazine and given a Nobel Prize, etc., etc., the type of outrage is not there.